everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Guess who I have? I've got Wyn Hopkins here.
Good day, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I'm so excited. Frankly, this is one of my absolute favorite topics. And so I am so happy that you're here. We are going to be talking about Power BI and Excel and why it's important to use these two tools together. And we've got the man, the myth. I mean, he literally wrote the book on the subject. So we're going to get into that in just a second. But if you are in the chat, let's see where everyone is from. I'm not even sure I know where everybody's from. That's something I just learned the other day. Like we were talking, Wyn, where, why don't you let everybody know where you're from?
Yeah, so I'm west coast of Australia, in Perth, one of the most remote cities in the world. But originally from Wales in the UK, hence the sort of, I don't know, do I have an Aussie accent? I'm not sure. Probably not.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. And even though you're in Australia, what did you just say that you did a few weeks ago?
I went skiing in Australia. Who knew?
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Actually with snow, not sand, proper snow skiing. So yeah, no, it's good. It's some good skiing.
Oh, that is fantastic. Oh, and it looks like we've got Tom from Phoenix, Arizona, and Donna from Kenosha. Welcome. Donald, terribly sorry. Les is unfortunately under the weather today. I was sick last week. Les is sick this week, so sorry. He will not be joining us today. So, yeah, it is quite the shame. I do have just a couple links I'm going to post inside the chat. If you have questions for Wyn, now's the time to get those in. Please preface it with Q:, just like our standard has become in this community. Post those in the chat so we can, get those in and ask them. Wyn, like I said, has written the book on Power BI and Excel, and he's got that out on a great website called powerbi.guide. So you can order it. You can order it there, right, Wyn?
Yeah. Please do.
Excellent. So there's that, and we also have. It's going to be available on Amazon, right?
Yeah, 1st of November release date. Looking forward to that. Pretty excited.
That is absolutely fantastic. Can you just tell us, just to bring people up to speed with yourself, and then we want to get into a little bit on the book here before we go into like actual Power BI and Excel. Can you give the audience just a little bit of your background, Wyn? How long you've been working with these tools, that type of thing?
Yeah, sure. So I'm essentially a director in a consulting and training firm. We specialize in Power BI and Excel. Been there 15 years now, which is insane. I know. So we've been delivering Excel solutions for clients for, a good 10 years and Power BI solutions for the last 5 or so. Originally a chartered accountant. I did my penance as a auditor with Pricewaterhouse back in the UK. I was a management accountant for a couple of the banks in the UK, producing monthly reporting packs and, useful information for people to make decisions. And then I went to visit actually my cousin who lived in Perth in Australia. And he had this little apartment overlooking this beautiful pub or bar on the beach. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is where I want to come and stay. So I quit. I resigned pretty much on the spot the day I got back to the UK, and then moved to Australia. And yeah, 15 years later, it's still going. So it's awesome.
Holy cow. You just like that. You're like, I'm done with the UK, moving to Australia, and you moved, huh?
Yeah. It was just, it just seemed like a really, beautiful sort of lifestyle. And I was at 23, 24 years old, something like that, and it seemed like the time to go, why not?
Right.
I've got a chance to do it. I've got somebody I know. I can stay with him when I set up and all this sort of. And I was being an auditor in the rainy valleys of Wales back in the day. And it was just, I was just, it wasn't a big decision, to be honest, Chris.
Cold, rainy auditor.
Yeah.
warm, nice, tropical consultant. At 24.
Yeah.
Oh, that took
decision,
nothing.
you know.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, you have published a book. It is called wait a minute, where did it go? Power BI for the Excel analyst, right? Your essential guide to Power BI, right? So can you tell me, like, what was it that got you, like, to get started on this, and why did you write this book?
When I run training courses, I'm recommending, books to people at the end or during the course. I've just finished a Power Query session, and I'll recommend one section. I've just finished a DAX section. I'll recommend another book. I recommend Matt Allington's book or whichever. And then for years I was recommending, Rob Colley and Avi Singh's book. Yeah. And then it got to a point where I was just thinking, this stuff is, it was awesome back, in 6-7 years ago, but it's not really up to date. And I just felt that there was a bit of a space for a one that was a bit more up to date, a bit more focused on the whole end-to-end process, because their book was a bit more, Power Query was tagged on in the final chapters, and there was a little bit of Power BI because it had first come out that year they published it. And I was just thinking, there's a chance here to do this, and I felt like I could. I felt like I was in a position where I had enough experience and knowledge, and people seemed to like, my content on YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn and everywhere. So it's just like, okay, let's give it a go. And that turned into a year's worth of weekends and evenings writing.
Wiped out all going into writing that book. No, that's fantastic. I mean, I've got a shirt on because I just love this story, especially when it comes to how we're really talking about like an ecosystem of tools and tools that you can use on your desktop, and that you can use Power Query, and you can use Power Pivot in Excel. You can use the tabular model in Power Query and Power BI desktop, but you could do those same things online, right? Now we can use Power Query to get data into Power BI and Excel online, and we just saw a preview last or 2 weeks ago at the Data Insight Summit. Like Microsoft is rolling out like web modeling capabilities. So like now those skills that you've had in Excel, that you can use in Power BI, you can now do that in the online service as well. So now we're talking about like a real ecosystem where you can use these same capabilities everywhere. So totally makes sense, right?
Yeah, it just works. They work beautifully together. There's, I think Excel's always been this go-to reporting tool. Yeah, just business. It doesn't matter what size of the company. I know I've worked in all sorts of sizes, from two-man shows to massive corporates. Yeah, and they're all using Excel. Okay, to some extent. And yeah, I think it's just the limitations though with stuff like report size. There was a limitation there. This is sort of like let's say 10 years ago. Okay, so report size, lots of manual work to get data in and get in the right structure, which is risky and time consuming. And then you had all these versions as well flying around. And all your business logic was locked into a file as well, so the reusability was limited. And then security, which was not great. You could hack an Excel file with 5 lines of code, so it's not hard. But then on the other side of it, the sort of the big BI implementations just took too long. Sure. They just took 6 months, 12 months, and they were out of date. So I think we're getting into a happier place because Power Pivot comes along, and all of a sudden you can handle however much data you really, for most people, the Excel data model will handle all the data they need. Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, we're because pre-Power Query, the cap was, what was it, 63,000 records or something like that. Yeah. It was small, right? Yeah. And then Power Query, and you have 10 million records. I mean, presuming you shape it, trim it down, it
works, right?
Yeah. Well, I had a scenario. Where a client had a 4 GB text file from a tax office. Okay. I don't know if it's still the case today, but an Access database can only hold a 2 GB text file. So I pulled that into Excel. I
Really?
pulled that using Power Pivot,
Sure.
and it's just like it took half an hour to load, but it was just like the paradigm had shifted.
Yeah.
And then Power Query with the automation and stuff that used to take an hour or 2 hours now takes 10 seconds. It just put all these stuff in the hands of the user, the actual business user, where they're making the decisions rather than going off to some team who's going to build you a reporting solution. So it was just a massive leap. It really was.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it was a huge change, especially when it came to the interactivity, because when that came out, we also got oh my gosh, I literally Power Pivot,
Power Pivot, yeah.
yeah, and then I really liked Power View. I thought that had some real incredible functionality and had some visual experiences we still can't do in Power BI today. So I remember there was like this like record player like visual where you could like page through and you could like spin through and it would all like flip over, and so we'd have like a templated page with all of our products on top, and we'd spin it through, and it was was gorgeous.
It was like sort of scrollable tiles.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
I never got to use it in real life because it just used to crash on me regularly.
Yeah.
So I never actually got to play with it properly. But that whole thing of, hey, I can click a bar on a chart and it filters something.
Right.
Amazing. So useful.
Right.
Real, practical, useful stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a shame that they couldn't, incorporate it all and maintain that in Excel, because that got fully deprecated, I think, recently. It finally got completely taken out.
Yeah,
so,
that was good.
Never worked.
So.
But
Yeah. But now we're starting to get on to the question of like, okay, and Tom has a great question that I think as we start to if someone is coming in and they've been using Excel and they're starting to look at using Power BI, or an organization is looking at bringing in Power BI, Tom's question I think is relevant. Do you need to go premium, or is Pro sufficient? What is your take right now for that Excel analyst who's just starting to get into Power BI? Wyn?
Yeah, just go Pro, and you don't necessarily need premium unless you've got masses of users as a start. The simplest decision point for Pro. There's for premium. There's other reasons. But the simplest decision point is, do you have more than 600 staff basically that are going to be using it, and then it works out cheaper per person. That's on its real basic, cut and dry. Then there's all these extra functionalities that you might need for premium. But no, just go Pro. And even if you're just sort of introducing it or trying to introduce it, you can go free and just show people, just use desktop and just show people what's possible to get some engagement. And you can always present that on a screen and stuff like this. And then start using Pro when you want to start sharing your reports. But just start simple and just show people Power Query. All right, in Excel. Bring the Power BI game to the Excel user. Show them that there's this thing called Power Query that lives in Power BI and Excel. And you go, hey, there's the same tool. It'll save you time. It'll make your life easier, make your life better. And then ease them in and show how it's a nice, easy transition into Power BI. That's the way I approach it.
That makes a ton of sense. Now I work in a large enterprise, so I don't necessarily I'm not like feet on the ground consulting in places. Although I think I would actually come from the other side, and I would say premium per user is now such a deal, and it's only $10 more, and it is still the lowest price BI tool that is available. And so I think everyone should at least start with premium per user at this point in time. Just cut the chase, start a PPU, your ROI that calc that you're going to do for your organization to show that you should have this. It's going to make sense. It's going to tie out with PPU better than any of the other tools that are out there. You're hands down going to crush them. And if it truly comes down to like, hey, I only have $100 in my budget or whatever it is, and you can only get the Pro, fall back to the Pro and get that out there. But there are so many pieces of functionality that you're going to want to have that premium per user brings that I actually say people should really consider PPU, even if it's just for the productivity of having a central data set that you all use and work from. I think that makes a ton of sense. So. Oh.
So I'm gonna push back on you, Chris.
Okay, good.
So if I've got an extra $10 to spend, I would spend it on something like the Zebra BI and Info River custom visuals on top of my $10 for Pro. If we're talking limited budget,
that is an
and that then
interesting point.
That then brings in the Info River one is very Excel-like. So you might get a bit of adoption, more ease of adoption of Power BI. And the Zebra BI one, the visualizations and stuff can save you time in building reports. But I think it is definitely for me, it's a case basis for organizations and their size. I think it makes much more sense if you're of a certain size. It makes much more sense to go PPU.
Sure, yeah, and
or premium.
A premium capacity or PPU. Yeah. I think. Well, I like your point. I have started to explore more on those visuals. I have some personal potential challenges with some of these things, but I do like Info River. I like the little bits I've seen of Zebra BI. I need to see more on the Zebra BI front. I don't know who runs Zebra BI, but I would like to have them on the live stream at some point in time so we could actually talk and do that. So
yeah. So,
that's awesome.
Bit of controversy just to warm the morning up or the evening. For you.
Right. Yeah, because it's now 6:15 for you, right? You're not even normally out of bed, so.
Yeah. It's still the sun's coming up now. But no, it's an interesting thing, right? This Power BI, I think, has brought these two worlds together of the enterprise grade IT world and the just get stuff done, Excel, I've got to get a report out by Friday world. And these two worlds are now closer together than ever before. They're quite distinct before. And now Power BI and that capability brings these together with a sort of common language. So there's lots of then gray areas around this stuff. There's a lot of it depends as comes out. It really is. There's no one size fits all answer anymore. It's somewhere in the middle of all these things, and it's good that these things are coming together, and that there is this sort of flexibility and ability to upscale you build something, and then you could potentially hand it on for somebody to enterprise ready it and that sort of thing.
Well, that right there, sir, is exactly why I dropped Tableau like a hot potato like a decade ago, because I saw that integration capability and that story when it comes to be able to lift up a code base and go from hey, I built this in Excel to I migrated into Power BI to I broke it up and deployed it to analysis services, right? And I've got Power BI in the front end, and now I've got a full Git repo and DevOps integrations, and now my platform's out and available for 20, 30,000 people. I think that is a brilliant story, right? Because that means anyone watching today, if you were to take on learning these tools, learning to work with Power BI, or learning to work with Power Query, learning to work with Power Pivot inside of Excel, right? Learning how to create these measures, you can start there, and you can uplift that and make an enterprise scale solution. I mean, It is, yeah, Donald, I dropped Tableau for Power Pivot too. Yeah, that is just such an incredible story. And now we're seeing Azure Data Factory is going to be supporting the full functionality of Power Query. So now not only do you have a Power Query going into Excel or going into Power BI or going into a data flow or going into a data mart, but now you have Power Query going into your enterprise data pipelines. So if you define it, your enterprise, and you do a good job of it, it performs, it's not garbage, whatnot. That could go all the way up to your enterprise. That's a game changer. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I think that, the original concept with this whole thing was, hey, let's bring IT capabilities to the Excel user. Yeah, Power Pivot, bring it in.
Yep.
So because that's where sort of all the sort of analysis and stuff is happening. But they, Excel couldn't really be updated quick enough, so they, stripped it out. I think the last 3 years, Microsoft have focused all their sort of time and resources on making it more enterprise. And maybe at the expense, and I think, not even maybe, at the expense of the user experience, the visualizations, that side of things. And I think that the sort of the buzz now is that they're shifting back to making it more of a user-focused effort to improve the product, which is great, because that's where I live.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, what's my Twitter handle? I still I still think I want to see 20% of Power BI's budget going into the UI and creating great graphics right out of the box. I want it usable, and I want people to just go in and use that, because that's that consumption side matters so much to the viability of whatever it is you're building or creating, right? If people don't like to interact with your tool, they're not going to interact with it, right? And so if you can make it look good and make it feel, like it's something they enjoy working with, they're totally going to do that. Have you played with the copy and paste quick create in Power BI, Wyn?
No.
The auto create?
No, I saw you tweet about that the other day, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have it's on my to-do list.
Oh my gosh. Someone sent me an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm like, ugh, what the heck am I looking at, right? Like, I wasn't sure what I was looking at, and I remember I was talking to Amanda Rivera at the Data Insight Summit, and she said, oh, it's really good, and you should think about trying it. I'm like, okay, you know what? I promised Amanda I'd try it, and I, immediately... I copied, pasted it, hit enter, and I had a Power BI report of that data in less than 30 seconds. And I was able to visually see what I was looking at. I was able to understand the data. Some of it actually made me go, is that right? So I looked more at the data, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I want to visualize it like this to understand more. And so I just changed it. But I went from what the heck is this data? And this is a whole bunch of crap to, oh, now I understand what I'm looking at in 5-10 minutes. It was unbelievable. Really great.
So it's a different concept to the sort of get insights button once you've published a data model, is it? Is it
100%. Yeah.
Because Excel has got the, you put a table of data in Excel, you click, I can't even remember what the button's called, it's called something like Insights.
Yes.
And then it builds you a bunch of little suggested pivot tables on the side, and you can go and pick which ones you want.
Yes.
But it relies on your data being structured. It does rely on that.
Yeah, well, this one does too. It's relying upon the one big table thing, and gosh,
I'll have to give that a go.
Yeah, I'm quick trying to see if I have a non-client or one I could quick show, because it is fantastic, but I do not have one I could just pull up like this and stuff. But it is great. Amanda Rivera should 100% check it out. It's phenomenal. So I accidentally I was just sharing a screenshot with people. Live streams, good stuff. Awesome, man. So let's talk more about your book and some of the things that you've. Yeah, right. You got a book that came out. Let's talk about, like, what are some of the topics that you cover inside the book that, would make someone go, you know what, I should spend, $35 on this thing, right?
Yeah. So it basically it's practical, right? You're straight in. Your first three chapters, you've gone, how do I install Power BI? How do I pull in some data, build a quick chart, publish it, share it, right? That sort of first three chapters are in there, just getting you up and running. And then we sort of delve into it a little bit more in terms of, what is a data model? How do you shape your data? What's the importance of that? Then we talk a bit about sort of DAX and those sorts of things. A little bit of an explanation about how DAX works. And I put links to recommended content as well in the book. So you can, if you're interested in that, explore that area more. There's a link to the SQL BI guys and links to other things for more DAX stuff. Calendar table, explain one of those. How to build a template file so you're up and running, how to share via apps, because that's how I'd recommend people share their content, is using apps. And then little bits on like data flows and a whole chapter on Excel and the story of Power BI as well, and how to build a Power BI report in Excel. It's strange how we have to refer to it as sort of Power BI in Excel now, even though Excel came first.
Right.
But everybody's heard of, people come on Power BI training all the time, and I'm just saying, Power Query, it lives in Excel? No. This Power Pivot? No. So they're learning about Excel from, it's almost like it's learning about the parent from the kids, basically.
Well, no, and I think that makes great sense. And Tom asked a good question. When is your book going to be available on Amazon?
1st November, apparently.
Okay.
According to Amazon.
All right. So we have.
If you're in the US, you can buy it from Mr. Excel. If you're in Australia, I'll have copies later in November.
All right. Awesome. Where is Mr. Excel's link? Oh, I lost it. Oh, So,
but yeah, it was a fun book to start writing.
Okay.
And then it sort of, you get all your ideas down, then you realize you've got to structure it a bit better. And then my writing style developed, and then I realized I had to rewrite the first 5 chapters because I got into a groove of going, now this is working, and that stuff now it's like everything, you look back,
right.
5 months, and you look at what you did, and you go, oh, I just want to redo that. So it's a bit like that.
Okay.
And then the editing at the end was no, that's not the fun bit.
That's awesome. Is this your first book, Wyn?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it was fun to do. It was something I really wanted to do, and it's really there to it uses terminology and examples that Excel users will relate to, but it's not just for Excel users. But if you come from that space, which most people have in this world have experience of Excel, so there's comes at it from that angle. It doesn't cover off any sort of admin level stuff. There's no tenant settings things in here. It's really aimed at the person building the reports and getting started.
Oh, that's awesome. And I mean, if you think about it, there's such a, everyone has Excel, right? Like millions and millions and millions of people have Excel, right? And to Fernando's point here, well, and actually here, this is a good question. How do you manage the fact that 90% of Excel users don't even know what Power Query is? Do you cover that in the book? Do you run through how that works with people? Yeah.
Yeah. So first chapter, essentially, here's this thing called Power Query. Here's a quick example of tidying up your data, extracting something using the column from examples magic, because that's just looks cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just extract a name or whatever, or a department from the middle of a long string. So just get into that. And then, there's a whole chapter dedicated to sort of importing your data and shaping it and cleaning it. So Power Query, getting into the weeds, showing you how do you build custom function as well in later chapters. So all sorts of, good Power Query essential stuff, unpivoting, just show people unpivoting. That's all you have to do.
Right.
If you want to sell these products or get people using these, just show them an unpivot, and it just blows people's minds. Consolidating files from a folder, all that sort of stuff. How to connect to files on OneDrive and SharePoint. It's all the practical stuff that I come across sort of day by day.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, when you, in the book you outline how to connect to Excel on OneDrive, not using their local mapping, but using their web connector so they can actually refresh it, right?
Yeah. Which is what one of the trouble, people go, my colleague can't refresh my report because
Right.
they're connecting to their C drive synced copy of their SharePoint file.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I sent a message to Microsoft just this week saying, please change this. Like, don't call it Excel, the Excel connector. Call it the Excel local connector, and then give me Excel online, and then just have the URL string in there, right? And then like so that it's two different experiences, and like so if someone insists upon local, at least they and then it'd even be great if there's some like warning, like note. You're never going to be able to refresh this from the service. Are you sure you don't want to do like?
Yeah, I've got 3 versions on YouTube. On my YouTube channel, I've got 3 versions of how to connect to Excel OneDrive that I've just updated over time, and all 3 are like up there with my most popular videos because it's so hard. It's so weird. The Excel button should connect you to Excel.
Right.
It's and or the SharePoint connector, or the one there should be some sort of sensible connector, and the Miguel Escobar and Lopez and people, they're fed up of me talking about this. I've nagged them as well. They know they're working on it.
Well, but it should be easy, right? I mean,
it should be easy.
That's the whole point. And if it's not, then especially if you could make it, if you could easily shift to something else. Just shift to that thing, right? We don't have to have like a huge shuttle launch here, right? It doesn't have to be some big UI change. Just make it small and easy, right?
See, the connector in data flows, there's a OneDrive browse button. So you go connect to Excel in data flow.
Okay. And that
opens
works.
Up a little browse box for OneDrive, and you click on it, and you can navigate through and pick your file. Perfect, right? So Excel launches that OneDrive. Doesn't do SharePoint yet, just your OneDrive Personal, which isn't great, but it's coming. That's the right path, and it's just a case of still have to write chapters in books about it and do YouTube videos because it's too hard currently.
Well, yeah, actually that leads to another excellent point. So one of the things that I talk about all the time, and we do that at my current job, is we have this like community of practice, or we call it power hours, every Friday, 8 to 10. We sit and talk through people's issues, challenges, problems, anything Power Platform, Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, whatever. But you brought up a great comment today on Twitter about why don't we have Excel community of practice?
Yeah.
That sounds brilliant, right?
Yeah. I don't know why this hadn't struck me before, but I think I was writing something down yesterday and went, maybe for this conversation, and I was just like, why isn't there one? Why don't people, everybody in the company is burning time in Excel.
Oh my God, burning time in Excel. That, like, where do you clip that? That's exactly what's going on, right?
And they could just be, they could do more stuff. They could have more time to do the useful stuff if they just knew some little tips, tricks. And because like more of us are working remotely now, there isn't the looking over your colleague's shoulder and seeing what they're clicking on. So we need to formalize it a bit more.
Right. Oh, I really like that. That is a great idea. What tip or trick would you recommend people to look at if they were just getting started? Like, hey, I use Excel, but I'm struggling to do some things. What's a cool thing that comes to your mind that someone should make sure that they understand how it works?
I think the biggest impact is showing Power Query, just something simple.
Okay.
But then in terms of new Excel, the thing that sort of surprises and amazes people most is some of the new dynamic array formulas, like unique. Okay, somebody wants to remove, like copying data, pasting it, removing duplicates, all that sort of stuff. It's this common thing that people have to do. Whereas you write equals unique, highlight your data, and you've got a dynamic unique list. You wrap it in a sort, you've got a sorted dynamic unique list. And it's just updates live when somebody adds new data. And it's just, that then is a nice little stepping stone to the other dynamic array functions like filter and all these other ones that just, the data is just changing as people are typing. So those sorts of things just get people hooked then going, oh, Excel is a bit different now, isn't it? You know, it has changed over the last 20 years. And it then, I think that little taster gets people going, oh, maybe I should learn more because I didn't know any of that existed.
Yeah.
So that would be my approach.
I'm sitting here thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, unique. What? What are you talking about? Like,
it's insane. It's insane.
Oh, you know, and that's interesting because I talk about like, hey, if you're in the business, learn SQL. This is something that's important for you. But you bring up the counterpoint. If you're in IT, learn Excel. Right? I mean, because so many people in IT, like, I'm a programmer, blah, 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 blah. I work with blah, you know, and they think Excel is like, no, I just do this. I don't do Excel. But there is a ton of functionality that makes your life so much easier if you're working Excel for these things, right?
Yeah. You know, it's the right tool for the right job. And it may be that, you know, and quite often is that Excel isn't the best tool for the job, but it might be the right tool right then. And it might be the right tool to get started.
Yep.
You know, I've got an Excel file on here that's 450 meg. So right, just for a demo purpose, 23 million records, right, in my Excel file, 450 meg. But it opens instantly, and I can slice and dice 23 million records like, you know, no bother.
Right.
I wouldn't recommend it to be used as a regular thing, but if you're just having to get over the hurdle of month end or next month while something is being, you know, implemented, if that is useful, but then it might not be useful. It might be thrown away. So it's just like, you know, one day's worth of effort to develop the report that then is then binned and fitted a need. And it doesn't need any sort of, you know, enterprise level, you know, rigor around it. It just needed a one-off answer. So that's where Excel really shines. Yeah.
Yeah. And you are spot on, right? How many questions are we asking in business that is to address a need or an issue today that we may never come back to, right? And so why build in the rigor? Why build in, you know, an enterprise-based solution if it's going to be something that doesn't need that, right? I like that.
One of my sort of favorite features in Power BI is the the name's gone for me. The report usage analytics, usage metrics.
Oh, yep.
So, you know, for me, working for the banks, I used to produce month-end packs. Yeah, and just ship these off, and they get bigger every month. There'd be a topic of the month that you'd add in, and then that would just stay in. So it'd become part of your Excel reporting routine. Put it in a big pack, print it off, send it out. No idea if anybody ever read it.
Yep.
No idea. You get a little bit of feedback on maybe one section once or twice, you know, but usage metrics, you just see whether you're wasting your time or not, you know. And those people who are demanding things for, you know, 5 p.m. on a Friday and they still haven't looked at it by Wednesday the next week, you know, for next time, okay.
Right. Do not waste your weekend because you have Monday and Tuesday. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, and I think we've all been there, right? Like how many, you know, like it's a panic, right? They're panicked about some question and only you can solve it. And holy cow, we need this right away. And you move heaven and earth and you have no idea what they do with it. Or maybe they glance at it one time and you're like, hang on a second here. I missed my daughter's birthday. I was up all night on the weekends, and you went into it one time, and we haven't talked about it since. So okay, that's fantastic. What other components? If someone is working inside of Excel and they want to start working in Power BI, you said like get started with Power Query. What would be the next step that someone would take on that journey?
Thinking about it, actually, there's one step before that, and that's tables. There's tables in Excel.
Okay.
Thinking about it, if you can get people thinking in terms of tables, organized sets of data with fields, you know, columns of organized data, then that's a step up, right? So getting Excel users to think in terms of tables. and the control T table function that builds you a nice structured table where the formulas auto-fill down, that sort of starting point, gets people thinking in the right way. Because the goal of Power Query is to create a nice table.
Right.
Right. And then where you've done your X lookups or your V lookups and your index matches and all those sorts of things before, then we're into the world of, hey, rather than doing all those and it's slowing down your model, here's an example of where, I've just replaced 70 million VLOOKUP formulas with a couple of lines, drag in your data model. And then you show people that they can produce their report. So that's the sort of next stage in terms of saying to Excel folk, all those formulas that were slowing your model down and taking 6 minutes for your file to actually open, take those formulas, all those lookups, and just load the two tables and this little line, and that's your VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP equivalent. And you can do it instantly, and it's much faster. And people are like that, what, I don't have to write 17 columns of VLOOKUPs. So it's like, nah, you just do one little line. And that's saving them time, and they're loving it. So that's the next stage, and then you just show exactly that stuff in Power BI. Hey, you know that stuff I just showed you in Excel, Power Query? Look, I can even copy-paste the query. Right-click, paste, it's into Power BI. And then here's the data model. Here we go, drag and drop, link it up, same thing, drag it on, build a chart. It's like, oh, this is good. And you've sold them that it's not something totally different to Excel. You're not trying to, rip Excel from their cold dead hands. You're sort of, you're actually leading them in. You're transitioning, and it's not forget about Excel. It's use it together.
Right.
And that's where you've got the analyzing Excel, and you show them those sorts of things as well. And it's just like, right, I'm comfortable.
Oh, I like that a lot. I honestly, I always skip over the table portion of it, and I just go right into Power Query, and you are right. That is, because I always think of it as like stepping stones to islands, right? Because some people would just jump over, and it's no problem, right? And hey, God bless, they can run and they can do that. But other people need those stones. But if you don't have them close enough, those people have problems taking that first step, and that is an excellent 2 additional stones before the Power Query one. Oh, I like that a lot.
Because if you just start off with a simple little, block of data, 10 rows, 5 columns, and it's a bit messy, right? And you try and create a pivot table and show somebody, and they go, yeah, well, you can't create a pivot table.
Right.
And then you then just flip to another screen in Excel where the data is organized as a table. And you go, look, this is better because I can just click this, and then they go, okay, and you say, right, well, I can turn that into this using Power Query. Here we go, click, 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 job done.
Right.
And that then people get the concept of what Power Query is, its aim, its goal is, to get that why have nicely structured data, and everything else becomes easier after that, and then a bit of unpivoting, to show. I do the demo where I've got months going across the top for my budget and some items going down the side, and I show a pivot table, and you're having to drag January in, February in, March in, April in, then you can't add up the year, and you just show a quick unpivot, drag it in, month, and love it. Awesome.
Oh, that is
just good.
Awesome. No, I really like that, because I think, especially when it comes to adoption, bringing people along, especially Excel people, making sure they're comfortable on each step, I think is key. So I like that.
And for those people that want to sort of export to Excel, then another option is, okay, you publish your data model, you publish your Power BI report, you do your analyze in Excel, so you create your Excel pivot table that's linked. And then you can actually upload that into your Power BI workspace and make it part of your app. And people can now, as of, 6 months ago, perhaps, it's now live. So the end user can play about with the pivot table you've pre-built for them. Yep. And they can drag, make sure you set it up with some nice field names and all that sort of stuff. And they can play about and explore it without having to do export.
Yeah.
So, the two things are working really nicely together now.
No, I completely agree. I love the new Power BI data sets in Excel, and I'm a big fan that we can now pull in data flows into Excel, right? So, getting access to that table in the Excel side, that is awesome. I have not had a chance to play with it. Can you have you played with it yet, Wyn?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, so
can you map a data flow into a table in Excel so users can work with it like they're used to? Or yeah.
Yeah. You can load it basically straight into the Excel grid, the sheet,
Okay.
as a table, or load it straight into the data model, or leave it as connection only and do something else with it if you wanted to. So yes, totally flexible, like any other data source really. So it's all, that ability to connect to data flows is great. The other feature that I've never used in real life, but it's hidden there in the background, is the featured table. Have you ever played with that?
I would not play with
so this
that.
this is where you could have you basically load a table in your Power BI report. You mark it in the data model view in Power BI. There's a featured table toggle.
Yeah.
You turn that on, like let's say a pricing table, right? Products and prices. So you turn that on, you publish it. Excel then has an icon that lists that you can click on to turn any Excel code into that pricing item.
Yeah.
So you could just type in the name of a product and click on it, and it'll actually give you the price and stuff like this, which sounds cool. I've never really had a need for it, but again, it's this interaction between the two tools. They're working together.
So I will say I don't know if you're going to hear it here first, but I understand that feature is not being used and it will be deprecated. So.
Right.
I don't know. No one said that was NDA, but I have played with it. It doesn't work, or I could not get it to work under any situation. Right. And I'm like, okay, it looks super cool, but none of these things work, and you lose the context to be able to pivot or do anything with it. It was just this.
It is. It's just useful for maybe. You could have a list of employees and their telephone numbers, but why wouldn't you do that a different way?
Right. That was exactly it. Like this is a very convoluted way to get to something that just doesn't work well. So I am, and to be honest, I love that they will try something integrated in, get feedback on whether or not it works or not, and then if it doesn't work, kill it. That is awesome, right? Because and that kind of gets into like what we were talking about earlier before the live stream started. Like, there's some tools and functionality out there that's super popular, but like can't go on anymore because like it is, it's old tech. It can't live forever, but it's got such long tails, right? Like, you were talking about working in your VBA, Visual Basic, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, Visual Basic ain't a cloud resource, right? Like,
nah. Well, once everything moves sort of cloud based, and VBA will tail off.
Yeah.
Office Scripts is coming in to replace it, the online version. But 20 years, it's going to be around. Excel 2003 is still around, so
right.
Maybe not supported anymore. I'm hoping. I came across a client, honestly, 2 years ago. I came across a client running Lotus 123.
Oh, so yeah.
The whole business was running on Lotus 123, which was insane.
Wow.
And there's one guy who was coming up to retirement, and he built all this entire infrastructure that your whole organization was running on it. It's like a medium size, few $1 million a year revenue, probably. I don't know. I didn't get to see the books, but that sort of size company.
Right.
But mad.
Holy cow. Yeah. My mechanic is still running on a Windows 95 system for his parts and stuff, but like who cares, right? He orders his parts on his little like DOS command thing. It's been running for 20 years. Why not keep running?
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very good.
Yeah. All right. So you had said you had a few a little demo, or we're nearly at time. Did you have one that you wanted to like showcase and show for everybody?
Let me just show this brief concept then.
Okay. I didn't want to get into something that like If it's too big, we've had a fantastic conversation here. So
Yeah. I'll just share this very quickly.
Okay.
Let me just show you this just as a thought for people. Okay. So, this is just a plain old Power BI report. Let's say I've just published it, and then it's sort of, sitting up in my cloud version. Okay. What I've done is actually add a little button to link to an Excel file, so that if somebody wants to analyze this data in Excel, they could just click on the little link. So that little link, all you have to do is basically, you can connect to this, analyze in Excel, build off your Excel file, save it somewhere sensible, not in your OneDrive. Okay. This warning, it just really annoys me. They can't get rid of it. It's your own data, so stop warning me that it might cause errors. But yeah, you've got your sales, you've got by month, and you can build a little chart or whatever, and all these sorts of things. But then you've got that shareable link, so save it somewhere sensible, and then you can share it. And that shareable link, you can then put in a button in Excel, in Power BI, and then somebody could click on it. They click on that, and it'll open up. This is one I prepared earlier, and they can play about with it, right? So again, query and refresh data. You can do all sorts. You can make slice and dice between your different countries and stuff, but it's connected to that data model. Yeah, so it's something that people can play, and then they can give them a free play page where they can come in here, and then they can do whatever analysis. Or I don't want it by product category, I want it by region, and they can come and play around with this. Or you can embed it into your Power BI app. So if you create the app, let me go and find my little favorites. I'm still finding my way around these new buttons. There we go, Excel demo. Okay, so I've got here's my report in here, and then here's my Excel file embedded in the app. Same sort of idea, and people can play around with it within the app. So again, you're just giving that access to people with that curated data. This thing just does kill me though. And yeah, to get that in, if anybody's interested, if you're building a little app and things, then essentially that's under, you go into your workspace, you go and click this little get data button from the bottom left corner, and you go to files, and you go to your OneDrive or SharePoint, ideally SharePoint, and you bring in your file. Okay, and it's just there. So I go to, where is it? My demo, connected Excel web or Excel and Power BI, and there's my sort of file. I just bring that in. So it's really easy to then embed. You just got to if you do it that way, you've got to make sure you give access to the Excel file via the share button as well, in Excel. So it's a double access, which is a bit of an annoyance, that people need double access to it. So not only do you have to share the app with people,
you have to share the Excel.
You also have to grant Excel access, or the access to the folder that Excel file's in, or one of those levels of access. So yeah, so that's my little tip really about how these things integrate nicely together.
Well, I really like that. I've not seen someone embed an Excel pivot table inside of a Power BI app before. I think that's great.
Yeah. It's just there, it's ready for them to access. The one downside is that maintaining the permissions, because they're separate, Well,
right.
If you have an AD group, you share it with the app and you share the file with the AD group, and that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, if anyone is looking for how to, best practice around that, next week I have a video coming out on that. So check out my video next week. Or if you're watching this in the future, look for the video that I released.
And I just want to show, this thing of Excel can't handle data. This is 23 million records. I just opened it up. The very first time you click on like a slicer, for example, it will have to load that data into memory. So that first click might take a little while. But after that, the ticks and clicks and things are pretty instant. And you can even double click on a chart in Excel and drill down into the months and stuff like this. So, Excel can do some stuff. Excel can do things.
Yeah, that's I forgot Excel could do that. That's something Power BI can't do. At least,
So
yeah, not easily, right?
so there you go. A couple of little demos.
Yeah. Oh man, that's fantastic. Well, thank you, Wyn. Um, oh, that's great. All right. Well, Wyn, I want to thank you so very much for getting up at the crack of dawn and.
I'm going to have my coffee now.
Yes. You know, before pre-coffee, being so alert and responsive. So I thank you very much. I thank you for this demo too, because honestly, I have some ideas that I would want to do because I love the ecosystem of Power BI and Excel. I think this is a fantastic intersect, and I think there's some great opportunities that we have here. So you've got my mind spinning here. So thank you so much.
That's the aim.
Yeah. And thank you for writing the book. We're super excited about that. If you guys haven't ordered it, links are inside the chat. I've got it inside the video as well. So go out and order Wyn's book today. I get no commission off that. Wyn does, though, I hope. So thank you, Wyn.
No worries. And I just appreciate sort of, you bringing a bit of fun and life and sort of character to the Power BI world. It's good that you put so much energy and effort into this. So enjoy watching your stuff. So thanks for doing that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I absolutely enjoy this, and I think you should have fun with this. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad that comes through.
It's a passionate thing that we're all passionate about. So we should all sort of sing it from the roofs, I reckon.
Right. Like everyone was surprised when I showed up to the Data Insight conference. I was wearing a toga. I'm like, hey, this is my Comic-Con.
Absolutely.
I got to see all sorts of heroes and whatnot, and so it was
Awesome.
super fun.
Brilliant.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for joining into this live stream. We're gonna have more of them. I forgot to actual schedule more, so we'll get more on the books. We'll be publishing who's gonna be on the live stream next, and we'll send those out as well. I do have videos that are coming out on governance, naming conventions, all sorts of ways to help make managing your entire Power BI space easier. So please do keep up with that, and we will see you guys later. Thanks a lot. Peace.